quote here about the emphasis on the way people live.
NYCHA being underfunded by over $30 billion is not an accident, it is an outcome. It's not an accident, it is an outcome of a system that devalues the poor, that devalues working people, and that prioritizes buildings like those over buildings like these.
And of course, buildings like those were those big high rises across the river. So it was really, really apparent with that. And I think the biggest things were some of the things that, I mean, they were all backed up. I think they were really all well backed up. Yeah, like they returned to the campaign trail really with a fire. And AOC, I think, really with a pretty impactful quote about Bernie Sanders and how he's resisted the pressure to change. And there really is a lot of pressure. And take this from her. This was a pretty good quote there as well from her.
Doors, your arm is twisted, the vice pressure of political pressure gets put on you, and every trick in the book, psychological and otherwise, is used to get us to abandon the working class. And it has been in that experience over the last 9 months that I have grown to appreciate the enormous, consistent, and nonstop advocacy of Senator Bernie Sanders.
You know, you're preaching to the choir, right? It's obvious that AOC would support Bernie. So I don't know if it'll necessarily bring more people from...
Yeah, that's a quote from someone who's a rally goer there. But again, like, think about what she's saying there. Like, of the 9 months, all the pressure that she's felt has been pretty apparent. Like, the fact that he's been able to resist this for 40 years, like, what better case is there for his consistency? What better case is there for his ethics than that fact of life, that he stayed consistent? One of the only politicians out there who stayed consistent. That's a real reason why so many people, including myself, support him. Like, that is really apparent. And I think that's really impressive to anyone. And it's the reason why a lot of people who may not agree with Bernie Sanders on everything he says, they support him. They like him because of that authenticity. And people, regardless of political perspective, they really, really crave that. So, yeah, here's Bernie Sanders taking the stage there as well, which I think is pretty good quote from him here.
The degree to which she has transformed politics in America.
Here.
I think because there's so...
Yeah, so that's talking about his respect for AOC there.
People. And along with the great medical care that I received.
After the health scare, seeing that he was so vibrant, still standing, and actually more impassioned than he was before, I knew that I wanted to come here to make sure that I supported.
Yeah, and that's her rally goer talking about why she wanted to come there to the rally. And yeah, here's how Bernie...
To put it bluntly, I am back.
That's right. Bernie Sanders is back. And this is our last little clip that we're going to play here. Bernie, he really, I think, this is probably his best moment of the rally from what I observed, talking about, really what is at stake. So that is it was a big part of it. So
I want you all to take a look around and find someone you don't know. Maybe somebody doesn't look kind of like you. Maybe somebody might be of a different religion than you. Maybe they come from a different country. My question now to you is, are you willing to fight for that person who you don't even know as much as you're willing to fight for yourself? Are you willing to stand together and fight for those people who are struggling economically in this country? Are you willing to fight for young people drowning in student debt, even if you are not? Are you willing to fight to ensure that every American has health care as a human right, even if you have good health care? Are you willing to fight for frightened immigrant neighbors, even if you are native born? Are you willing to fight for a future for generations of people who have not yet even been born, but are entitled to live on a planet that is healthy and habitable? Because if you are willing to do that, if you are willing to love, if you are willing to fight for a government of compassion and justice and decency, if you are willing to stand up to Trump's desire to divide us up, if you are prepared to stand up to the greed and corruption of the corporate elite, if you and millions of others are prepared to do that, there is no doubt in my mind that not only will we win this election, but together we will transform this country. Thank you all very much.
That is what it's all about right there. Bernie Sanders back in Queens. Hello, everyone. My name is Spencer Walsh. Just wanted to give you a quick update about what's going on right here on the Spencer Walsh Radio Network. Of course, as you know, Newsflash will always be new every Sundays with Thursday bonus episodes. The first season of Red Alert is available now to catch up on before our, yes, you heard it here first, folks, October 28th premiere. We're going to be on the air October 28th for the first time with Season 2 of Red Alert, so get ready for that. Also on Culture's Live Friday, and check out Spreaker.com/GSWS to get the link for our merch store. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to move now on to a very interesting article that is in the New York Times today. So, want to get into that. It's obviously in the opinion section of the New York Times, where all the most interesting articles in the New York Times happen to be in, because most of them, a lot of them, happen to be pretty crazy. So, that is just kind of the truth of the matter there. But this is by Astor Taylor. Our democracy is dominated by dominated by the old. And you have to click through it. They have the money and the power, and the young people are getting a bad deal. So, yeah, it says out with the old, in with the young. And I know a lot of people would agree with this, but I want to go in, and coming into this article, I want to kind of suggest that it could be something a little bit more important than old. And it's really, it's what you believe. I don't care if you're like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and you're the youngest you can possibly be in elected politics without like violating the Constitution, or you're Bernie Sanders, the oldest president in history. I mean, it's about what you believe, is it not? Like, it's about your integrity, it's about your character, and again, it's this, I think really what it is it's another form of identity politics. All the stuff that the right wing loves to attack Democrats for, they will probably, no doubt, go after Bernie for in a fierce way come the general election. And they also have a lot of old people themselves. Like, old doesn't matter. Age doesn't matter. I mean, unless your age is inhibiting you from carrying out your job. Like, you could be just as much as, and I talked about Bernie and AOC, the same thing goes. Like, Ted Cruz can be just as obnoxious, just as problematic as, and just as annoying as Chuck Grassley, for example. Like, although it can be a little bit frustrating, for example, during the Kavanaugh hearing when the Democrats were all like 99 years old, questioning Brett Kavanaugh, I do see what you're saying there, but like there are plenty of young people, like there are plenty of old people who are, well, I mean, mostly Bernie here, but a lot of other old people are not the most functioning people, even if they are Democratic. So, I mean, it is interesting. I do want to get into this article. It's by Astra Taylor in the New York Times Sunday Opinion sections. So it's not just that President Trump is a well-seasoned 73 and his top 3 Democratic primary challengers are also septuagenarians. The average senator is now almost 63, and the average member of the House is nearly 58, making them roughly 20 years younger than their average constituent and nearly a decade older than they were in 1981. And I mean, again, I just don't think that matters. Like, it's, I think, because again, the fact here remains, and it's really, I think, obviously, so it's been one paragraph, but it's hard to challenge this fact that you can be old or young and believe totally, completely different things. Like, there's no correlation. It's kind of the thing, is what we are, kind of thing that we're seeing in our country today. So it goes on to say, older people today hold disproportionate power because they have the numbers and the means to do so. And that's certainly true. Older people most likely going to be a little bit more wealthier just because the fact that they've been able to accrue more wealth over time. That is kind of just how it works. But this is just kind of the reality of the situation here. But the interesting thing here is that, I mean, some of them, they use that for good. That's the thing a lot of people don't always take into account, really. People 65 and older, for example, are more than 3 times as likely to make political donations as those under 30. As a result, their voices are amplified by money, carry farther politically than those of the young and impecunious. I don't know how to say that word. Yeah, I don't know how to say that word. There are a lot of voices in their chorus. The American electorate is the oldest it's been since at least 1970 and is graying at a rapid clip, with the well-off living longer than ever before. By 2034, according to the Census Bureau, the population 65 and older will exceed the population under 18. By 2060, that's disturbing. That is disturbing. The population 65 and older will exceed the population under 18. Wow. Those millennials not having enough sex. By 2060, the 65 and older crowd is projected to have almost doubled. So bye the turning Georgia blue with Democratic black babies fantasy that some liberals have. There are some 74 million baby boomers alone, and when election time comes, they turn out in droves. During the 2010 midterm, 64% of citizens aged 54 to 72 cast a ballot, compared to 31% of eligible voters 29 and under. And I mean, that is different than like evaluating candidates running for office. It's kind of touching a different issue related to Asian politics. And I think both of them are really, really important to consider because there is a massive, massive drive for, I think, getting young people involved in politics. It's working, and I think it's working. You saw it work in the midterms. And even still, there isn't a lot of major help. Like, there's not a lot of major big benefits coming that way. So, yeah, there's a lot of work, still a lot of work to be done on that front, to be completely and totally honest with you. So, yeah, so the American electorate, it's getting older, it's a thing. Money, numbers, and power have been inexorably accruing in the aging baby boomer generation for the last few decades. It's a sad thing. The political scientist John Seary warned in his 2011 book, Too Young to Run, the trend shows no signs of slowing. Migration to metropolitan centers by people who tend to be younger and more diverse, along with rural depopulation and aging. Big trend in America right now will only intensify age-based inequalities given the geographic biases of the American electoral system. Call it the coming gerontocracy. So pretty much being ruled by old people is what's going to happen here. While significant divisions exist within every age cohort, many older people in this country are progressive and poor. That's a good point. That's a really good way of looking at it, because it's a lot